When I was about 15, parents got divorced. I lost the safety net of my home because mum and dad, it was a horrible divorce. That impacted me a lot from a financial perspective because I was used to having the financial comfort of a home and it had just been ripped away from me.
I'm here with an amazing, gorgeous human. I may be a little bit biased because I am lucky enough to call this a woman my friend. This is Olivia Ward, everybody. She is a property coach who is in the top 1% of property investors in her 20s.
When it comes to lending money, leverage is literally the thing that helps investors quadruple what they've got. 90% of Australians get stuck on 2 properties. So I was like, wow, I'm going to learn this because I was in high school dropout. So I was like, well, I ain't got no credentials. I was also extremely dyslexic. I fucking love what you do. I just want to send people to you and I want to be a part of the whole journey of like really inspiring people to build wealth. And he goes, it sounds like you want to be a coach. Oh, yeah, that sounds cool.
Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. Hello, gorgeous beings. Welcome to today's podcast of Cosmic Money. I'm your host, Sky, as always. And I am here with an amazing, gorgeous human. I may be a little bit biased because I am lucky enough to call this woman my friend. This is Olivia Ward, everybody. She is a property coach who is in the top 1% of property investors in her 20s. So she is absolutely a firecracker. And I'm super excited to have her here to be able to tell you everything about the amazing work that she does, who she helps and supports, the mission that she is on, and simply just share her brilliance. You're going to get so much out of this. Hi,
girl. Thanks for having me on. I'm fucking so excited. Talk everything bloody investing, business. Let's go.
Let's do the thing. I know. Pumped and ready. I love that about you, that I do know how passionate you are. And when I reached out to you even to say, hey, come and do this podcast or, would you like to be on? You were like, oh my God, yes. Like I love sharing on this sort of stuff. And so again, I'm super excited for our listeners today to be able to not only tap into your magic, your brilliance, your genius, as I am excited to hear about all of these things today too. But yeah, your passion also. So, how about you tell us why it is that you are the amazing human you are here today? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your story.
Thanks, girl. Okay, so essentially I decided I wanted to have financial freedom when I was older. So in my 20s, I spent 5 years basically hustling from 25 to 30 to build a property portfolio for myself because I was like, 90% of millionaires are made from real estate, but yet some fun fact for you is that 90% of Australians get stuck on 2 properties. So I was like, wow, I'm going to learn this because I was a year 10 high school dropout. So I was like, well, I ain't got no credentials. I was also extremely dyslexic. I had age teachers and all that sort of stuff growing up. Still couldn't read. And I was in corporate working for Optus, just roaming around the corporate office, and thinking to myself, there's no way known I'm swapping my time for money. I'm going to keep working and grinding until I'm 60 or 70 years of age. So I decided, well, property you seem to be able to do that without any sort of, certification or whatever. I'll work that out. Worked it out, reached the top 1%. And then by the age of, I think it was about 29, I was walking around the office and a whole bunch of corporate people that were above me. Mind you, I was just like a call center worker, right? So I was like average as wage, right? I was
tier one
guys, front line talking to customers, yeah? And then all these corporate people were like, on 3-5 times my wage. And they were like, sorry, how many properties you got? And they're all like, got $1 million, $2 million of equity in their homes living in Sydney. And I was just like, oh yeah, I could easily work out how to get that to replace your income within probably 5 to 10 years on average. And they're like, what do you mean? You've been able to achieve that on a quarter of what I earn? I was like, yeah, man. And then that's when I kind of had a little bit of a light bulb moment. I was like, hang on a second. There's something here that I know that others don't. And I had reached my level of financial safety, I call it. And once I reached that level, I was like, I want other people to have this same feeling. So that's when I decided I'm going to become a property coach.
When did the original, where did the original drive come from? Because I think it's really interesting that you sort of went, right, I don't want to trade time for money. I want to get out of the 9 to 5. to have that realization like so early on. There are people probably listening who are, dabbling a little bit in that, or dreaming in that right now, where they're like, oh my gosh, like, do I want to leave my 9 to 5? What could that look like? So how did you discover that at such an early age? What led to that?
So discovered the wanting to build a property portfolio or wanting to leave my 9 to 5 job?
All of it. Yeah. Like the inspiration to be like, I want something more for my existence and more for my life, that then led you to finding property as your driver.
Okay, cool. So 3 big pivotal things happened growing up. That's why. Number 1 was when I was about 15, parents got divorced. So I grew up really, really I would say I had a lot of nice, cool upbringing, had all the cool, nice things. But then when I was 15, I lost the safety net of my home because mum and dad had gotten a horrible divorce. I'm talking like in court, left, right, and center, all the nasty stuff. And as a child, because I was the only child over 15, I had to actually be a witness for a lot of stuff. So from 15 to 17, all I knew was court system, to be honest with you. Literally living out of caravans, hotels, hostels, all that sort of stuff. So it went from one extreme to another. So that impacted me a lot from a financial perspective, because I was used to having the financial comfort of a home, and it had just been ripped away from me. So that was one thing. Then the second thing happened when I was about 19, because I was a year 10 high school dropout. My parents, I was used to everyone fighting over how dumb I was and like, you need to stay down. And my parents would always like be fighting about not keeping me down, but the teachers were like, she needs to stay down. Like she's like my whole life. That's all I really remember of school. And so by the time I'm in year 10, right, dad's just like, just go become a nurse or something. Like, just go do that. Surely you can do that. So I did that and enrolled in it. But the new way of nursing was like, you had to pass all these exams, like written stuff, and I couldn't read. So I was I could do the practical stuff, but I couldn't read. And so I was like, fuck this. So I went and got a job in sales. Great. So lucky I went and got a job in sales. So anyway, so I'm in nursing. Here's the next pivotal moment. I'm sitting there. I'm doing my, what do you call it, like your work placement thing, right, to try and
work experience hours or something. Yeah.
I couldn't pass the exams though, but I could do the physical stuff. And you know what I was really good at doing when I was younger? I was interviewing people, life experiences. So I was walking around all these different nursing homes because you had to do like 2 weeks at each, some low care and then some high care. And all the low care people who could look after themselves, or the elderly people, I'd be asking them questions about life, like how to do it better, what would they repeat, what would they do more of or less of, what was the purpose of life, all of this sort of stuff. And there's just like some similarities, right? There's patterns, and people would say things like, be present, try not swap your time for money. It's not all about the job. And it's like, about living an experience and make sure you travel and human connection and blah, blah, blah. So I had gathered this information about how to do life better or easier. So I was like, awesome, I'm going to do that. And so what I took away heavily from those conversations was people regret not building human relationships and networking, and because they're so worried about money and needing to make an income. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to work out how to make money, because that seems to be the thing that people were regretting in their later years. Interesting, right?
I love the sliding doorsness of it all kind of thing, where it's like, I went into nursing because I thought that was the avenue, but how much you actually got from that journey regardless, like, is so perfect. Because if you hadn't have done that, maybe this thing in you wouldn't have, sparked until, as I said, much later in existence or something.
You're right. Very good summarization. So yes,
gratitude for the nursing journey.
Yes, gratitude for that nursing journey. I really am. I fucking learn a lot. I learned about how hard it is. So anyway, so did that, came out of that. So then what happened is I went to this one extreme where I was just like, oh, life, you could die at any moment. Oh my God, I must live every single day as if it's its last. So then I went and did this thing where I tried to complete everything on adrenaline.com because I was like such an adrenaline junkie. I was like, yeah, I'm going to fucking live life, So did that, did like 98%. There was like 2 things I didn't do. And then, so completed that. But then I was like, and then this next pivotal thing happened. Then I was 23. I came home to my mum one day, and my mum was like, look, sweetie, I've just spoken to a financial planner, and this guy's just basically told me that I'm going to have to work every single day till I die. And I was like, oh, cool. That sounds fucked up. I don't want to do that. And then I was thinking to myself, and my mum looks after elderly people. And my dad was doing the same thing. And so my parents didn't have anything. They were financially, they worked for themselves. They're kind of like serial entrepreneurs, starting things, worked for themselves all the time, high income, never learned how to manage their money or multiply their money. So they just spent it all. Primarily my dad. And he was a big spender. And and then through divorces, you lose a lot. I think he's on to like wife number 3 or 4 now. So a lot of divorces, giving away a lot of his money.
Hopefully he won't be listening to this podcast.
Probably
That's
not.
fine.
Even if he did, Dad, a few wives. Count them. Anyway, so by 21, I'm just like, oh, hang on, shock. Do I want to end up like my parents, where like they're now like they're getting old and fragile, and they've got physical jobs, like they're self-employed, but got physical jobs where like they, it relies on their body. And I'm like, they're not going to be able to work. They're going to be financially fucked on the road. So like now I'm going to have to look after them. So that was the first thing. And there's some other stuff around family that was happening at the time where I was just like, okay, I'm the only one to look after both of my parents. It's all on my shoulders. So that masculine side of me sort of kicked in at that point. I was like, it's me to help everyone, or it's no one. We're all screwed. So that's when I was like, well, people are in property somehow, so I'm going to work it out. And then I knew no one who was successful in real estate, because fact is 90% of investors get stock on 2 properties. So it's very rare that you're going to know someone who owns more than 2 or 3 properties. And I personally didn't. So I just literally went to YouTube and I typed into YouTube how to build, I don't know exactly what I typed in, but property building, buying property, something like that, right? Whatever. And then I was going through the scroll hold, and then I finally found like this guy who was my original OG mentor, and I loved him and I watched him like there was no tomorrow. And thank goodness back then there was no such thing as podcasts like there is now. So thank goodness for these creative, beautiful souls like you who are handing out this information.
Sharing everything.
Share as much as you can. Because if it wasn't for that guy on YouTube, there's no one I would have learned what I did so rapidly. Because there was books, yes, and I'd got my hand on every single book that I could possibly read, but I was also extremely slow at reading. It's when I first read my first book, I said, I'm going to push through this fear of these teachers saying you can't read, blah, 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 blah. That was really, really hard. It still sometimes triggers me every now and again when I'm writing up an email or something, but
it's so limiting, like exactly, like to label somebody like that and to then be able to shake off that label, because again, there would be plenty of people listening to this, and I had a tantrum, I think, to you the other day, where I was saying about even my own journey with MS, you guys. Oh my God. Like I think, and I had a tantrum online the other day saying, I think it's so boring because it's just a label. It means nothing. And we are so much more than, these silly little labels kind of thing, which is so amazing that you've been able to move through that for yourself and become so fucking successful. And it shouldn't be in spite of thing. I don't even like that languaging around it. It's just, here is Olivia. Olivia is amazing, and she's just out there and found her, zone of genius, something she's, uniquely attuned to and super fucking passionate about. It just gets to be that simple.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Although I did, and on top of that, I also did discover something around pain. Maybe we can talk about that later, like moving towards pain as opposed to pleasure. That was something that motivated.
Let's talk about that now.
Okay, let's go.
Tell me about that. So which are you? Are you pain driven or are you pleasure driven?
I'm absolutely pain driven, if I'm going to be honest. Absolutely.
Fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah. How did you discover that?
So recently, I only probably discovered this maybe literally 6 months ago, because I realized I reached a level of comfort and I was like, why do I want to achieve for more? What's happened? And I realized that I just reached all of these particular goals in life that I had always, that I dreamt of. And so I had to rediscover some of my pain that would push me. So I had to do some values work, what my top values were, and then basically working backwards from that to then identify what happens if my values weren't met. The values that I have now, what happens if it was all to be taken away? So then, I kind of had to go into rediscover that. And
yeah. So note to everyone, personal development. So I'm massively pleasure driven, but the problem with how sort of, I guess, pleasure driven I am is that I can cap it because I've never actually, this sounds really terrible. It's not quite like this. Let's just be dramatic for a second, but it's like I'm never actually truly fully happy because I'm always striving for the next thing, because there's always more and there's always more and there's always more and there's always the next level. And so every time I achieve something at a particular level, I'm still always eyes in the game for the next bit because I'm so forward, like driven kind of thing. Yeah. And then my partner, we had this conversation literally last night because there was something that he was saying that was triggering me, not horrendously, but I just knew that it was like I think it was literally around dinner or something stupid like that. And he will go through this checklist in his brain of all the different things he doesn't want and why he doesn't want them and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, why does that trigger me? And I'm like, because I'm like forward driven and he's like reverse driven kind of thing. So he's listing out all the things he doesn't want, whereas I would list out all the things I want, if that makes sense. And I was like, there it is. That makes sense.
Yeah. How powerful that is for both of you that you're able to do that work, understand it, and that it can help your relationship on every single level as well.
Exactly. Yeah, because this stuff isn't just for like it's business and it's life and it's strategy and it's soul and it's action. It's like all the different pieces, right? Like we are still one whole of a human, and these patterns we'd be living out in all areas of our existence in one way, shape, or form. So the sooner that we're aware or have an awareness of them, we can be the observer and choose differently instead of being a slave to the pattern in some way.
Consciously choosing differently. Yep, I agree. I love that. Well done. I think like any like one of these self-development hacks or quizzes or, just identifying yourself on how to, move through things quicker. It's just like, it's a hack to literally moving through the thing quicker and the pain quicker. Why not? So if you... Sorry, go on.
My apologies. I was going to say, because you fire me up as well, because that's actually one of the biggest things that like in these podcasts when we've been having, conversations with fucking high achievers who are out there doing amazing things and all the rest of it, is their ability to move through things is a lot faster. And it doesn't mean that we're not, going through the stuff, the fire sometimes. It just means that most people are picking up their crown, dusting it off, putting it back on their head a lot quicker. And that to me is one of those amazing, characteristics of success that I've seen, across the people that I'm always kind of like diagnosing, like the behavioral human in me is like, oh, what is that? Or what, what's going to equal success? Yeah, exactly. And that is like probably one of the top 3, if not the top characteristic.
Curious.
Yeah. And like, the ability to move faster.
Learn, sit. Yes. Okay, sweet. No, acknowledge it. Move on. Let's go.
Yeah. So what would you say? I mean, that's a great question to hear from you as well. And then let's jump into some property stuff. But what would you say some of the greatest characteristics then you've learned over the previous sort of, 10 years of your existence that have helped you to be successful and move things forward?
Okay. I'm going to say the top one is going to be human connection, networking. Yeah, networking for sure. Just learning how to have a conversation, learning how to ask somebody high quality questions. And I didn't know how to do that when I was younger. So it's a skill.
And did you learn that from Optus? Like, did that come through partially through sales training and things as well?
Good question. Yep. So yes, I would say, and just for context, I think it comes from confidence, which confidence I think can come from sales and or rejection, so being able to handle rejection as well. So I would say mine came from rejection of not being included in friendship groups because I was a very angry teenager, confused about my sexuality as well as parents getting divorced. So I was just this horrible person energetically to hang out with, believe it or not, complete opposite to what I am today. So the rejection from that, rejection from obviously, parent type things, right? A lot of daughters have that from their fathers. Father doesn't love me. Right, whatever, right? So I had some of that. And then 10 years of sales. The first 10 years of like from 16 to 26, all I knew was sales. I did the most, I did the cold calling electricity company. I was that one that did that first like 2 years of my life. I worked at Optus telesales. I worked at Jetstar selling holidays, and car hires and stuff like that. I sold life insurance. I had to get my funeral and life insurance certificate and all of that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, the rejection played a huge part to helping my confidence, which also helped with the networking and building relationships. but building relationships to be curious about them as well and just their life. So I'd say, yeah, human connection would be the top one. Sales.
I feel like there's three: connection, confidence, and curiosity.
Yeah, all of those things. Yeah. I couldn't just say
3 C's.
Yeah, I couldn't just 3 C's. Thank you. I couldn't just say just 3 C's.
No. I don't think it's one either.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a combination of that.
So tell us then about, all right, so you've left Optus, and, you know, you've obviously had amazing success since then and building out your portfolio. So what is it that you're super passionate about now? How are you helping people? How did you build that? It's about 7 questions in one. You're welcome and go.
Feels like a long man.
Tell us everything.
Okay, so
I've spent my life obsessed with the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. I've literally traveled the world trying to crack the code. And what I've found is that when you couple the pursuit of making massive amounts of money with the strategy and science of success, plus having a desire for significant impact and contribution, magic happens. That's why I created a free 21-day next level vortex money mission magic. Hell yes to that. This 21-day quantum business challenge is here to shift you into new timelines and realities. 21 days to quantum shift your impact, business, and your bank account. These carefully crafted and channeled tools are the exact things I've used to create a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm not done yet. If you're ready for incredible transformation now in all areas of your life, more money and financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of lifestyle, freedom of choice, better, more connected relationships, greater levels of health, and simply calling in more magic into every single day, then these 21 days are going to blow your mind. 21 days of powerful universal, behavioral, and strategic tools to quantum shift your internal state so that you start to see massive changes in your external reality, bringing the metaphysical into the physical. Join the challenge now and get ready for the most powerful 21-day expansion to quantum shift your impact, business, bank account, and your life.
Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business.
I'm sitting at Optus. It's like COVID time. And it's like, yeah, well, there's your jab. If you don't get the jab, I'm like, yeah, fuck you, whatever. So I was building up to it. And then the thing that was really confusing, I got sucked into an ad on Facebook, which was like, do you want to help people do property, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, I'm successful at it, blah, blah. So I got hooked into this company, which was a buyer's agent institute in Australia. And so I was like, oh, that's the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to become a buyer's agent. Also because, not just because of the ad, because I'd actually paid as an investor different companies and I'd had a horrible experience. Horrible. One guy had no strategy, okay customer service. The other guy had horrible customer service, but okay results and strategy. And I was like, gosh, where is somebody that has the perfect fit? So anyway, so then I went to this buyer's agents and I got into there and I was like, this is horrible. No wonder the whole entire industry of the buyer's agency is shit. Like I hated, the guy rocking up in his Lambo trying to sell you off the plan property. I was like, yuck, I want to vomit. That was everything against my values and my brand. So of who I was and who I was attracting in my life and who I wanted to help. So I went into that course, did it, came out, and I was like, had a sook for like 3 months. And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I thought this was my calling, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, you know what? I still need to find a buyer's agent for myself, right? I was still an active investor. I knew that I needed to outsource these sort of things. So back to the drawing board, I went to the hunt to find somebody else who ticked the boxes of good results plus customer service. So then I found this one company. I was like, okay, so far, I actually like what you're doing. And from a values perspective, I reckon I'm going to give you guys a go. Gave them a go. Absolutely phenomenal. 10 out of 10 in both areas. So then I went for the next property. Boom. So then I went to the guy who was who at this point became a mentor of mine. From a values perspective, also a really great, phenomenal leader. And this guy's globally known now, by the way. So I went to him and I said, look, and by the way, we kind of already knew each other from being in similar sort of property forums. I'd been on this podcast show and he'd offered me a couple of jobs, right? Over like a 12-month period. He's like, oh, Liv, I'll create a job for you. Let's go. And I was like, nah, I'm happy at Optus, right? And meanwhile, I generally was happy at Optus because I was building the app. So I was in like AI, tech, all of this sort of cool stuff. So I really liked it. And I was in Agile, so I had at zero people reporting to me. So I had like the ideal corporate job, right, that I like desired and manifested for my life. I was like, cool. But at the back of my mind, I was like, I could also lose my job because I'm also not willing to get the job. So I was like preparing for that. And so I went to this guy and said, I want to do this. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I really just want to inspire people to get out of their rut, build a passive income so that they can, so we can have the ripple effect and create more prosperity in the world. And I want to democratize property investing. So people think you need to be rich in order to get there, and you just don't. So it's like, I just want to help the average Australian build a passive income. Like, yeah, what I do on average takes probably 10 to 15 years to do. It's like something that sits in the back end. It's like this machine that just works whilst you sleep. But I'm like, that's better than swapping your time for money for the next 30 to 40 years. So 10 to 15 years is pretty good to compare to 30 to 40. So, and then he said to me, and he's like, so I was like, I just want to send people to you. Right, this is what I said. I was like, I fucking love what you do. I just want to send people to you. And I want to be a part of the whole journey of like really inspiring people to build wealth. And he goes, it sounds like you want to be a coach. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. I don't know what it means. And so he kind of gave me the title to what I do today, property coach. And so that's where it started from. And I just went really hard for like 6 months. No idea what a property coach meant, what I was doing, what value I was adding. Like I knew the value I could add, but I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know how to package it or anything. I just winged it and said, do you need help building a property portfolio? I'll just start helping you. And then I'll work out what my package or what my servicing offering looks like based on the need of the market. Right. So then I just started that. And yes, I did that on the side of my 9-to-5 job for like 6 months. So I just worked really hard, really quickly. I worked every single Friday night, Saturday, Sunday that I could, every living moment that I could outside of my 9-to-5 job. And mind you, my 9-to-5 job, I had this massive big project. It was basically a $40 million project that was all on my shoulders, all like me. That's what they do in the corporate world. They're just like, oh, you're a newbie. We're just going to do this magic project all on your own. I had like 60 people that I had to coordinate. But anyway, so I was doing that and doing this at the same time. Corporate, big job, first time ever, and doing this business thing. And then just naturally, the jab thing had passed, by the way. I kind of hacked the system there a little bit. I got HR to like keep my job. That's another story. And so then I actually didn't need to leave out of scarcity of that or getting pushed out the door. So now I was actually leaving because I was like, hang on a second. One, the income that I was making in business had surpassed what I was earning in my 9-to-5 job. And then on top of that, I was genuinely loving what I was doing way more. So it was literally the hardest thing I had to do was leave that job.
What was it hard from? Was it because it was so much safety and it was everything that you had known? Like, what did you find difficult about it?
It was two things. One, the financial safety that you're told that like having a 9-to-5 job is safe. And when I got into business, I realized how much it's actually not at all. Once you realize the skills that you can build in business are actually the thing that can never be taken away from you and that you can learn to monetize. So the thing that I was most scared about is one, learning how to monetize myself. That was number one. I didn't know how to do that. And the second biggest thing actually was losing a community, if I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. Because it was one of my highest values, right, is the human connection and being a part of a community, because being the kid in school who had no friends and who didn't have the community, and when I got into Optus, I was like literally, it was my home. And I said Optus raised me. I was there for 12 years, right? From 18 or like about 19 to I was 31. That's all I'd known. And in both the Optus in the Melbourne headquarters and the Sydney one, I was virtually famous. Like I'd walk into the building and I was friends with everyone. One of my problems was, who am I going to have lunch with today? Or, okay, Johnny, yeah, we can have a 10-minute coffee and talk meetings and stuff, but it's strategy. But then, Lucinda, I've got to have 10 minutes with Lucinda. And so I loved that. I craved that. I worked in the hustle and bustle of Melbourne. It was my thing. And 6 coffees a day,
You're taking me back to my fitness days. Yeah, 6 coffees a day. So what are you super proud of then in yourself and that journey? Because it feels like there's so much transformation that you've gone through and you've had, and big courageous action that you've taken, which I think, again, is another one of those amazing characteristics of of success is, big, bold, hairy, audacious goals and courageous action. What are you super proud of for yourself?
One was doing the identity work around the community, right? Not having that and what it meant by me just being all alone. Mind you, also at the exact same time, this is another big pivotal moment, was I just moved states. So I had just left Melbourne, got out of escape from COVID in order to move up to the Gold Coast. So I was completely friendless up here for the first 2 years.
You love putting yourself into pain, right?
Yeah, like pushing me. You're right. Emotional.
How else can I make this the most difficult time
emotional
ever?
Pain. Yeah, I'm not that good at doing it from a physical perspective, probably because the weight of the emotional stuff is a lot.
Yeah, so, great.
The identity around community and belonging, that was a huge shift for me. That being okay and lonely by myself is okay, and that I can sit with myself, that was huge breakthrough. And I had to do that with my kinesiologist, hand on heart, best kinesiologist I have in the world. She's so special to me. So that was one thing. The next thing was letting go of the fear of judgment of others, of not being successful as well. That was huge. So the thing that helped me through that was just simply a book that I'd read. Actually on audio, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So it wasn't that book. It was Napoleon's book after that. Do you have it? Outwitting the Devil?
I don't. No. I've got, I think that one. It's on the bookshelf behind me. Anyway, Think and Grow Rich is.
See?
Yeah.
Elite minds, mate. We all read the same stuff.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
So a friend of mine in the trading world, I'd put out a post saying, well, one of the best, self-development books you've ever read. And I was just going through, and I'm very good at analyzing whose opinion I would take more, have a higher weight of their opinion versus others. And so this particular one was a good friend of mine, understood psychology, was in trading world, and she built her own company. And I was like, I'm going to take her word on this particular book. And I'd actually caught COVID at the start of 2021. So I was sick as hell. So I physically couldn't move my body and do anything else except for listen to this book. Could not get off the couch. And I listened to it in 48 hours end to end. And it was like I came out of hypnosis. It was like this book had literally just shaken the fuck out of me and said, your mind is the devil. If you let it go down that path, you can control it. And the biggest fear that most people have is fear of judgment of other people's or fear of death. So I thought to myself, who would I be and what could I achieve if I had no fear of other people's judgment? So that helped.
Yeah, what else is possible? Like, what is possible if that doesn't play into, like, existence and daily life?
Yep, amen. So as soon as I read that book, it was like the fucking weight had lifted off my shoulders and I came out of the gate like, I was like, I am here and I'm going to share everything on content and social media. I have zero fear. I'm just going to talk about, and I don't even care if the government come after me, try and shut me down. Because I was like, there's too many hack seasons. Surely someone's going to try to shut this sort of stuff down. So yeah, that's the things that I'm proud of.
I definitely want to talk to you about hacks in a second, but you actually bring up another really great point, that something you've said a couple of times so far as we've been talking, and I think this is another one of those characteristics of success and that I see across the board, is that successful people find ways, and so you're sitting there saying, maybe I don't have a lot of money, or I don't have a lot of time, or I don't, whatever it is. And instead of being like bought into the story of that, it's like, well, what am I willing to sacrifice to make this happen? And as you said, and I say this to people all the time, I'm like, everything exists on the internet already.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's already all out there, whether it's like now podcasts, whether it's, YouTube, and reading these amazing books. And if you can't read, listen to the audio version of it, it's all there. And it's so fascinating. I'll just be triggered only slightly for a second. I myself, I ran a program over the last week, and 10 people joined. And I think out of the 10, probably about 3 people completed this 5-day, it was a short program, 5-day thing that they came and joined. And where it was just 30 minutes a day to literally transform their life. And I'm so fascinated by the fact that, giving them literally like the most golden nuggets, holding nothing back. And out of 10 people, 3 have actually made it to the end. And the simplicity of just showing up for ourselves, it seems so simple, and yet people find it so hard.
that's where, for me, like I can't answer for the others, but for me, I reached one of those points where I was like, the pain just wasn't enough. So I had to rediscover the pain again to get me up the fuck off my ass, basically. But to your point around the limiting beliefs, so I actually went through a really awakening moment probably 2 years ago around with a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Ryan Jake, shout out to him. He actually challenged me to think about all the beliefs that we had and where they come from and if they are actually factually true. And then I thought to myself, I had another mentor by my business partner, and he goes, if you think about the limiting beliefs that we have, how much information do we have to actually vet that limiting belief is truly factually true? Like, how much have you actually gone and deep dived into something that you think, oh, I don't want to do this thing because this thing's probably going to happen? How true and how much data do you actually truly have for that particular task that you don't want to do if you believe that it's not going to work out? Are you 100% sure? You're 110% sure that you've gathered enough information to know that it's not true? And if it is something that has a 1% chance of being successful, could you have enough confidence within yourself to make that 1% come true if you just actually believed in yourself? I don't know.
It's interesting, and it goes both ways as well. Like, because, it's the power of what if. Like, what if it all works out? What if it goes to plan? What if I'm amazingly successful? What if I just be courageous? What if I just push through this next thing? Like, all of the positive. But the general way our brain works is trying to keep us safe, where it's going down the avenue of, what if this all goes to shit? What if I fail? What if everyone judges me? What if I end up with no one in my life anymore? And all of this kind of stuff. Like, It's fascinating. Again, as we've been talking about, being that observer of what actually is coming up and what actually is true, and when did we decide that? That I'm scared of somebody's judgment, or when did I decide that, like many successful people have, it's like, yeah, it's inevitable. I know I'm going to be successful because I'm just going to keep going until. That power we have, just dependent on whatever it is that we're feeding our brain on any given day and how it's then playing out in these patterns and things like that as well.
Isn't it interesting how it's just conditioning, like from someone, usually parents or community growing up. Like,
let's give a really simple example for the listeners as well. That I'm just going to give like a little crappy example, right? It's were you taught as a child that it's rude to have your elbows on the table? Right. And both Olivia and I are sitting here right now. We've got our elbows on the table in front of us because we're in like deep thought faces, right? And we've got elbows on the table right now. And so who said, like, somebody at some point in your life said, oh, that's rude, or you don't do that, or you can't have your elbows on the table? But really, factually, is like, what is that? Is it rude? Am I being rude or am I not? And in some cultures, potentially having your elbows on the table could actually, in fact, be polite. It could be presence, and things like that. So it's like, when did we decide these things one way or another, and redeciding for ourselves what we choose to be true or not true?
Correct. Amen. I love that. Mine was around religion.
Talk to me. Tell me everything about religion.
Well,
yes,
exactly. So I grew up atheist.
Let's go down that rabbit hole briefly.
Let's just not go down there. But anyway, I had to undo my belief system because I'd realized that mine was from somebody else's. It wasn't truly mine. So I had to do that as well. And so that's now I'm going through my life and getting rid of those absolutes. So you should do this. Life should be like this. You can't do that. And I'm like, hang on, where are all these absolutes coming from? So it's actually a fucking skill to stop yourself in the moment from thinking, hang on a sec, do I know this? Is this true? Should it be this way? I don't know. Who said that should do this?
Am I going to redecide?
Either.
I mean, it is. It's like, unwinding, like, here we go. Let's go into the big topics. It's like unwinding generational traumas and things like that, right? Or generational programming, conditioning, where it's like, okay, I'm actually going to be the stopping point of, this thing, thinking that it's rude to have your elbows on the table or whatever it might be, from this point forward, that I choose to believe and think something else.
Yeah.
Look, let me just briefly say my I have one challenging, I probably have many challenging things around religion, and this is just my very quick 2 cents. Well, my most challenging thing around religion is the fact that we've somehow disempowered ourselves, taken the power outside of us, given it to a man who is somewhere off this planet, and and now we're beholden to this man that lives somewhere off the planet and that kind of thing, taking that power from ourselves, instead of my true beliefs, which is that, the universe resides in all of us, right? Like now, no, the universe doesn't reside in you or me. Like, how dare we think we are divine? It's like there's only one person that's divine. He is a man, he lives elsewhere. And it's like, okay. Like, sure.
Interesting. There you go. See?
Religion. Maybe I should do a podcast.
Yeah.
Talk to us about property hacks. So the thing that you're here for, the thing that you're super passionate about, and you're a genius at. Tell us some of these amazing property hacks. I was going to say your content. Everyone go follow Olivia Ward, please. Her reels and videos and just quick little hacks. I literally learn something every time that there aren't many people that I devour. I'm pretty protective of my brain and energy and the good old, scrolling your life away. And so I pay attention to people that I think are amazing and next level and have something of offer. And every time I listen to you, I learn something new. So share with us your wisdom.
Thanks, babe. Oh, I appreciate that so much. You know what? Sometimes when you're a content creator, sometimes you go through days where you're just like, fuck, is this valuable? Is this landing? Is this adding value to people out there? So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, a couple of different hacks. So who we got listening? Primarily business owners. So, all right, I'll give you a bit of a hack. First of all, when it comes to lending for business owners, actually, let me start by saying 60% of the property game is actually just convincing the bank to give you money. Like, literally, that's the thing. And that's what I'm really, really good at. It's just like convincing the bank to give me money. Fuck, I did it, being a call center worker. I can help just about anyone. So we'll leave that as the premise. So for business owners, for context, for business owners, in the industry, a lot of people say, oh, it's harder for business owners. I don't necessarily think it's harder. It's just different and we don't talk about it as much. So when it comes to lending money, it's leverage is literally the thing that helps investors quadruple what they've got. Wouldn't you rather, I would say this to somebody, if you had $100,000 to invest in shares, right? You have $100,000 to invest in. But in property, if you had $100,000 to invest in, you can partner that with $500,000 of the bank's money. So now you've got $600,000 compounding for you, of somebody else's money compounding for you, and that's getting in benefits from inflation, which is the system around us that we can't change. So hack for you is, as a business owner, if you are wanting to leverage money, aka get a mortgage to help you build and get there 10 times quicker, there's a thing called depreciation inside business, where it can bring down your taxable income. So it basically means you pay less in taxes, but the upside of it is it can be added back onto your borrowing capacity. So then the bank can actually lend you more money. So I'll give you an example. Let's just say you are a business owner and you have a content creation company. Let's just say you own an agency where you have a lot of equipment, right? Let's just say you have massive big cameras, right? That are like 10 grand for a camera or whatever, and you have a few of them. That can be, let's just say that can be depreciated. For those who are listening, depreciation is essentially a thing where it's like, you buy this thing, this physical equipment, and in the eyes of the ATO, they say, oh no, poor you, it's getting older, like it's going through wear and tear, so we'll give you back money. And so depreciation is not a bill.
Like a car, like it can be your car and stuff like that. It can be your computer that you work from, all kinds of different things.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Laptops,
You're able to be claimable against your tax.
Correct, yeah. Right?
Exactly.
So depreciation, right. So these things can be added back on. Now, which is critical to know. So you can tell the ATO, hey, thank you so much for giving me this extra money back. And that was extra money that you didn't have to begin with, because depreciation is not a bill. It's not an expense that you had to pay out. It's just extra free money that you're getting back. So it's really great from an ATO perspective to reduce your taxes. But at the same time, we can't go reducing your taxes too much, because the thing that I see with most business owners is that they're so good at doing is working with their accountant and looking like they're not profitable on paper, so they don't pay taxes. Awesome. But just to let you know, that'll fuck up your investment if you want to do that as well. So it's just about, what I work with business owners is making sure that we're getting the best of both worlds, so that we're making us look not too profitable on paper, so we're paying the least amount of in taxes, but also not hindering our borrowing capacity, so that we can still leverage enough money. So it's my job to work between me, the client, and the broker, to find that really, really good, perfect balance. And one of the best ways to do that is depreciation can be added back on. So if you don't have a car, but you can somehow work out how to fit a car into your business model, you can have that help, get the best of both worlds. So that's one little hack.
No. So who then, you bring up a great question. Who then would you say, like, because we've got our listeners here, and they might be sitting there thinking in their minds, oh, exactly, I own my own business, I've got debt, I pay rent, like I've got no money to my name to be able to invest that, and it's really hard to save a deposit at the moment. They've got all these things, these stories, and beliefs, and some of it may be true, some of it might not be. So who is this kind of stuff for?
Gorgeous being. It is truly my honor to have you here joining me on this co-created adventure through the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business. However it is that you landed here, whether we know each other personally or professionally, whether a friend shared this podcast with you as they thought you might get something out of it, or whether you stumbled across me by sheer accident or divine intervention, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to ask you a little favor. It is my joy to do what it is that I do every single day. And so if you have received anything here, a piece of magic, a strategy, a mindset shift, something that has transformed you in some way, I ask that you share this podcast with others, so that together we can transform the world for the better. One business, one human, one frequency, and one podcast at a time. Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of seven-figure business.
Yeah, cool. So I really help the average Australian who's got like one property, usually their home, so their PPR, and I use them to say, hey, you don't actually need any more money. We can take out the equity out of that home, which is the value of whatever your property is minus 10% minus your what your debt, so what you own it. So essentially, I just teach people how to use that equity to then where you need zero of your own cash. So I've used zero of my own cash from my second property onwards. So I've got a multi-million-dollar property portfolio with using zero of my own money. All I used was the original 42 grand as my deposit to put on my first house. That's it. So to your point, business owners, okay, let's give a scenario. Let's just pretend you're a business owner and you're doing, you're a coach and you're doing 10K months at the moment. I'm going to be honest with you. You're fucking broke already, right? I'm going to be honest with you. The average wage in Australia is $96,000, guys. So it's fucking hard to save the first deposit. I'm not going to lie. That is literally the hardest thing to get your foot in the door, is getting that first deposit. So what I would say to most people, if you have a business where it's harder to save, so I wouldn't be focusing on saving. This is a quote from Grant Cardone, one of the most famous billionaires in business and real estate. And he would say, wherever your energy goes, your money flows. Wherever your energy goes, your money flows. What he means is you can only save so much. So rather than focusing on saving $10, how about if you put that same energy to working out how to make the extra $1,000? And so any extra money that you make, so what I'm saying is it's easier to make money than save money. So focus on making money. If you've got a business where you've got customers that are already paying you, you've got a proven business and a concept, grab coaches, do whatever you need to do, unblock yourself, whatever it is, and scale the business first. So then it is 10 times easier for the investing. But don't be that person, please, to the life of me. If you're listening to this and you're doing really well in business, or you are potentially going to be really well in business, just remember this one thing. Actually, if there's anything you take away from this, please listen to this for me. Please don't be that person, that business owner that ends up making $5 million every year and you blow it all, and then you come to me in your 40s and 50s and you have nothing to show for it because you just blew all of your money. The amount of successful business owners that come to me and they have fucking nothing, but also they didn't pay themselves super, because most of us are just like, well, of course I can reinvest that money into my business and make a lot more. But just build something that's passive and nest egg, that's in the background, that doesn't need much energy, that is quite passive. It's something. look, I'm not even big into shares, but fuck me, this is non-financial advice. Just do something. Even if you did that, it's better than doing nothing at all.
In business, like, you're talking to what I would call future-proofing. And so much so when I work with the coaches and the businesses that I work with, I'm like, what? Like, it's not just about, living on. Like, the first thing we want to start doing is living week to week or month to month, but actually being like, right, how can we be future-proofed in some way, shape or form, so that, for instance, if that person was taken out of their business or their life for a little while, and let's face it, like, we're all human. So if you're a human, you have a body or you love people, or even if you want to go on a holiday, like, how can you still be getting paid while you're on holiday or while family member's sick or while you need some time off for a reason? Whatever it is, it's like we need the future proof so that that reoccurring revenue and income is still coming in, whether it's now and or into the future, through property and things or investments, as you're talking about as well.
Amen. Well done. It's the same thing. Like during 2023, I was actually, I'm going to talk to you about three different, if you don't mind, I want to bring up like the three different levels of energy around money as well. Three different levels of what I call financial freedom. So just for context, in 2023, it was the year of like, which I've said goodbye to. It was the year of me being in and out of hospital left, right and center. And I was fucking sick. And I'd actually thought I'd saw death actually at one point in April last year. And I thought, no joke, I actually thought I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, it was quite a pivotal moment for me. But anyway, so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, fuck, all of this health stuff that I need, right? And all of this business that I'm trying to build, all of this I'm able to do because I created that little nest egg. I created that something passive. Or else I wouldn't have been able, I was literally in and out of hospital every 6 weeks, right? And it really was something that like obviously prevented my business from me being able to go that extra mile. But I'm so thankful and grateful that those moments happened because there's three different levels of financial freedom. First one is what I call financial confidence. So financial confidence is where if the world was to turn to shit, you within yourself know, right, I know how to build myself back up and go and make some money to put a roof over my head or put food on the table. That's what I call financial confidence, whether that be sales or marketing skills or something in business, or you know how to write up a resume and go get yourself a job. The second one is the one that I'm actually trying to get most Australians to. The second one is what I call financial security. So this is a big one. This is like this emotional, like think of this as the thing to make you feel confident to go out there and try the most riskiest, weird things. Like business can be risky and business is a fucking roller coaster that I love. Weird roller coaster. I love it though. And
you got to be a bit twisted in the head.
You do. Okay, you do. So that financial security, it's like the only way I can describe it is a feeling like you feel confident to go out there and do something that might not add up. It might not work out, but it's okay because you built something else over here, which is unbreakable. That's what it was for me. So when I reached like property number 6 or something, that was what it was for me. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, I can leave my 9-to-5 job and go and create this business, trial it. And if it doesn't work, it's okay because I've just still got this thing that's making money for me in the background. So there's this safety net. And also I'm into really weird investing stuff. I actually like property is the thing that gives me the safety net, but it's a feeling. And that's why when people come to me, they're like, I have money coaches that were like, oh, what do you got? What's your net wealth goal, Olivia? What's your passive income goal? And I was like, you know what, guys? I don't track any of that. I tell people like I have a goal of reaching $10 million of debt, $10 million of literally of leverage, because that's powerful because I understand inflation. But anyway, another story for another day. That feeling, it's a feeling that you can all of a sudden feel like you can go out there and do the thing that's not going to really add up. And so for me, that allowed me to leave my 9-to-5 job, that allowed me to invest in other weird, cool things that I really like am attracted to, that is more like a gambling. I would look at it as a gambling, but like that fulfills me. And I wouldn't have been able to do that had I...
It's like play.
It's like what, sorry?
Play. Like you get to play in other arenas and stuff like that, but you get to do it from a place of financial safety and security, and so it does actually make it a little bit less of a gamble because it's like, well, this is money that I'm willing to play with. and I have the capacity to be able to do so.
Correct. Yep. There you go. So that's number 3, right? Having that capacity to do that. And then that's number 2. Sorry. And then number 3 is the actual true financial freedom, which is basically pure passive income without you having to roll out of bed, and you make that to look after that supplies your absolute desired lifestyle in every way. So number 2 is the one that I really want to get most people to. Because imagine if you could be free to do and try weird things. And most people don't try a lot of things and go outside of their comfort zone, usually because it relates to either A, fear of judgment of other people, or B, it comes back to money. Not having enough.
Yes. Yeah. And it's such a disempowered place. And we all know it. Like, we've all been there. So there is no judgment, from either of us at all. Like, that's the exact point. We want to give people this freedom, through a variety of vehicles, really. Because to have choice, to have freedom of time, to have freedom of lifestyle, to have freedom of, location and things like that is freedom within the system that we need to play in as well.
Freedom of location. Oh my goodness, this is huge. That's another one.
Yeah. Time. What are they? They're freedom of time, freedom of finances, freedom of location, freedom of lifestyle, freedom of choice. Like, they're the 5 freedoms, everyone. That's what you want to go for, right? And so if you can find a vehicle that allows you to do all of those things, then winning, like absolutely winning at life. I know you're really passionate. I love your motto, your ethos of how to get the most return on investment of life. So what does that mean to you?
Oh, ROI on life. You know what? To me, it means getting the most amount, or taking the most amount of opportunity out of that particular window of your lifespan. So I'll give you an example. Say, for example, you are 20 to 25 and you want to go out partying and dabble into some things, right? And you want to go out dancing, and I'm just explaining also a little bit of...
I feel personally attacked. I know, yes. You're just describing my life.
Might be describing your life here right now. So let's just say that's that window. How do you take the most amount of opportunity of that in your life? The second part of your window is, maybe you're like 25 to 30 and you're, I don't know, doing whatever you with your life. You're exploring businesses, you're exploring different ways, and your risk tolerances aren't that high, right? Sorry, your risk tolerances are quite high. So you're flexible and you're willing to try weird and wonderful different things. And so for me, it's just about building wealth on the outside of whatever you're doing with your life right now, where it doesn't have too much of a hindrance. So for example, I have 2 different extremes. I have people that come to me who are like, I ain't willing to sacrifice anything or put anything into this, so I don't want to do it. And they come to me wanting me to motivate them to be able to do that. And I'm like, I'm not your motivator to want to succeed and
or savior. I find that as well. I had you and I were just talking about having a crazy January and month, and I found a bit of savior energy was coming up. Like that people were kind of reaching out, being like, hello, like, can you help me with this, that, and the other, but in desperation and in, that kind of victim savior energy. And I was like, oh, unfortunately, it's not my job to motivate you or to convince you back into your business or get you passionate and excited or, that kind of thing.
For future you. Exactly. It's not. Yeah. We can give you. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go into that, but yes.
The tools. We
can give you the tools and the things and tell you what to do, but you really implement at the end of the day. Yeah.
And hold you to a higher standard. Absolutely. And love fucking hard on you and believe in you. But at the end of the day, only a person can take the action and the responsibility for their results.
Amen. Fuck yes. So highest ROI on life is getting the most amount of opportunity that you can out of that particular lifespan. Allow you to do the things in life that are going to fulfill you more now, but also not go to 2 different extremes. This is where I left off from. So 2 different extremes. People are like, oh, save me. I'm not willing to put in much. And then the other extreme is like they forget to live because they're so focused on saving for the future and building wealth that like they're probably not going to be around and live for or even take the opportunity for. Like, for example, let's just say I have a lot of clients who are coming to me saying, I want to build generational wealth for my kids, right? Do you know how common that is? I'd say that's the second. First highest is I want $200,000 of passive income. That's the average answer. The second biggest answer is I want to build generational wealth for my kids. But do you know what those people also tend to forget is that if you are like 80 and you die and you want to pass on your generational wealth to your kids, Your kids are probably in their 50s or /60s and they're already old. So imagine what the impact could be on the generational wealth that you want to pass on. Imagine if you were able to pass that on to them at their most impactful life. And data, there's been a bunch of different studies on this, and the studies show that like the most impact that your kids could have is if you provided them with that generational wealth between the ages of 25 to 35. Because that is typically when people are doing things like having babies and buying their first house and wanting to start a business, or their careers have developed, like all of this sort of stuff. That 10-year window is huge. So how can we impact that more and to, again, be able to get the highest ROI in life and experience that with your kids as well? How cool would that be, is having that experience with them? I once had this dad who came to me and he said, Liv, this is really heartbreaking, and I can only imagine a lot of parents experience this. And he goes, my daughter, who's like now 10 or 12, she stopped asking me to say, hey, Daddy, can you come and watch this Disney movie with me? And he goes, she used to ask that when she was around 5 to 7, and I can never get those moments back again. So I wish I had more time freedom to spend on watching more Disney movies with her, because it's only lasts for a couple of years. And I was like, wow. Yeah. So how do we get that higher? So same with like traveling, right? Like I'm sure, maybe this is a limiting belief, but I'm sure that we all would believe that your body probably is not physically able to go on the big hikes and explore the world traveling when your body's 60 as opposed to 20, right? So, yeah, that's what the highest ROI life is about for me.
I think the old paradigm as well, you bring this up in me, the old sort of paradigm is exactly like we work the 9 to 5, we do the thing, we do, you put away for the super, and then once you're able to retire and you've got that super, you've got that bit of money there, then you can go out and travel the world. It breaks my heart that people have to ask permission from someone else to go on a holiday or to need some time off, or life event happens and you somehow have to feel bad or guilty or, this or that to contact. And I'm not, entirely shitting on the whole JOB paradigm, but it does bring up a lot where it's like, well, but yeah, what if something happens? What if you want to take a holiday? What if you shouldn't have to ask permission for these things, and you want to enjoy them in the best parts of your life. I call them iterations. It's like these time frames, these iterations of ourselves, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 30. Like, what was the iteration that we were going through? How can we get the best ROI and not have to wait until, as you said, our body is failing us, our mind is tired, and then go, okay, now I'm allowed to go and live.
Yeah. Or the classic business owner,
crazy
to your point, the classic business owner who's like in their 50s and they hustled their whole entire life, but they've just missed out on everything. They got 10 wives and 10 ex-wives and the adult kids who don't like them because they went around. And I'm just like, how do we build? And to the point, like, that's the reason why I love property, is simply I don't actually really like property at all, to be honest with you. It's just that vehicle to create the easiest amount of wealth for the average Australian. That's all it is for me. I couldn't give a fucking rat's ass about property, to be honest with you. I actually more like business, and business since coming out, and business, smart business, right? You can have the business that can give you the lifestyle now. And then the way that I look at property for myself is that something for the future that's just like in the background working and making money whilst I sleep. So and can I also just say on the super thing, also, I just got to get this bit out. Super, for those who's listening, super was created for those who weren't smart enough to do something else. It was literally a Band-Aid option for 21 million people. How the fuck is that a smart financial option for you when it was just made as a blanket idea for 21 million people? It's not. So
to reduce the load on the government with an aging population.
Correct. Not you. So go work out how to make money smarter and better and leverage your business if you're a business owner.
So let me ask a cheeky question then. What pisses you off? What do you get fired up about? What do you find triggering?
Okay, what do I find triggering? Probably the whole emphasis around money, which is like inflation. That's my biggest thing. Yeah, inflation's a fucking scam. So to me, the matrix. Oh gosh. I'll try and keep it simple. But essentially, the matrix and the lie to me is the big what am I going to call it? Hypnosis that they've done on the world that swapping your time for money is how you should do life. So once you truly understand the scam of money, aka inflation, it's just like this thing that's kind of spoken about, but we're not really taught about. And so with compounding, and I'm like, if you actually really understood these two words, and you just did like, you went into like a YouTube fucking rabbit hole on those separate topics for like 20 hours each, I'll tell you what, you'll come out smarter than where you've ever been, in your mind will be absolutely mind blown. I actually have one of the most powerful, pivotal videos I ever discovered during my rabbit holes in 2017, 2019, when I was discovering all of this for myself. I have one of the most powerful videos I've ever watched, ever. I'll send it to you. I highly recommend watching it. It goes for 30 minutes. That's it. It's just like the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen in my life. It's about how money's made. It's by a guy called Michael Maloney, he's a currency historian. And he's the gold and silver advisor for Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki. So this guy is a very, very smart guy. He's old. He's not pro-property, but he's a currency historian, and he explains who controls it and how it's printed and how it's made. Point being is that, here it is. Humans, physically, we cannot work as hard as compounding. So there's no point in saving money, to be honest with you. Save to invest at the start to get it moving, but then that's it. Don't save just to save. It's a silly idea, because then the second thing is inflation. They print more money than what you can physically save. So it's really silly to save money. They brought this out in 1971. So from 1971, it no longer made sense to save your money. So the whole idea of like, save your money, like, and your pennies, that came from the generations above us. It actually worked for our grandparents. Saving was a smart thing to do until 1971, completely went out the window. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. If you think that the inflation experience that we had in 2022, you think that was fucking bad, you wait 10 years from now. And I don't want to use this to drive fear, but it's going to get a lot worse.
I think I hear what you're saying. The way I'm taking this is it's to drive education. You know, it's like to go out there and educate yourself in these areas to understand more, so you can elevate your existence in life and to understand the level at which the game is being played, you know, to put it in a phrase. Like, and the more that we can be empowered to put that power back inside of us and have these understandings, again, means the better choices that we're going to be able to make for ourselves now and into the future. So to me, it's like a call to arms for education.
Boom, guys. There you go. Educate yourselves.
Okay, so we've got one more question for you. Well, we've got you here today, Liv. And the question is the same question I ask all of our guests, which is, if you could give one piece of advice, and you can have a few if you need to, it's not a problem. I to give 1 to 7 pieces of advice to our audience in relation to helping them, you know, skyrocket their wealth, their income, their, you know, their return, their ROI on life. And in relation to potentially, you know, 7-figure business and beyond, what is the piece of advice that you would give them?
Okay, thank you. All right, so number 1 would be ask high quality questions, for sure. Think about the questions that you're asking, to not be like so closed off, like yes and no. Think about open-ended questions. Number 2 is outsource to people to fast track you. So go just copy and paste for those who have gone before you. Literally, that's all they've done. To get to think about the property portfolio they built, plus to fucking create a rapid business. It's so quickly after my 9-to-5 job. All I did was I watched people, and I'm like, what is that person doing? Right. I'm just going to fucking copy what they're doing. And then on top of that, have actual coaches like yourself, right, for example, to actually say, to fast track you, to not have to make the same mistakes and challenges that you have. I literally, before I even left my job, right, I paid for a coach straight away out of my before I even left my 9-to-5 job. I already had a business coach. It's just easier to do life, is have a coach in every aspect. Literally. So much easier. Why wouldn't you? Give me the fast track option.
The fast track. I want the fast track option. Exactly.
But whilst I say that, life is also about balance and the journey. not skipping ahead to try and just skip the head, but enjoy the journey of life itself. Because we're in a 3D world. We've been put here on the 3D human body, so why not experience a bit of that too?
That's it.
Ask high quality questions, fast track, outsource as much as you can, and just build connections along the way. Human connection, I think, is a beautiful thing, and we're here to experience that human connection. Actually, I have my first tattoo I ever got was human emotion is a beautiful notion. It's what combines and connects us like the moon and the ocean.
Oh, wow. Yeah, beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Olivia, thank you so much for being here with us. I love you as a human. I love your passion. Where can people find you so that they can go and start following you and start to devour some of this stuff and get educated, in these different areas of money and wealth and property and all the different things?
Yeah, just find me on any social media platform. Just look up Olivia Ward Property, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You know what, I'm there.
And I'm sure we'll put some of those links in all of the descriptions of this podcast as well. I am sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here today. And of course, thank you, Liv.
Love you. Thank you.